Hi everyone, this is 6th grade Elevate. For the next 2 days, students will be working on writing numerical expressions from phrases. And so a numerical expression is a math phrase that contains numbers, symbols, and operations that are grouped together to show value. Students have been working with order of operations for the past 2 days, so they should be familiar with what these expressions look like. Today we are going to be writing those expressions, right, using words. And so something that is going to be important today is breaking down the parts of an expression. This is important. It's not on their packet. However, you should use the DotCam to present this image to students because on their I Ready Elevate quiz in a few days, they are going to have to be able to identify how many terms are in this expression, what is the coefficient, what is the variable, and what's the constant. And so please present this to students today and tomorrow so that they are familiar with the language in order for them to be successful on that I Ready quiz. And so you do not necessarily have to go through all the words in this. However, something that you may want to ask students is, or something you may want to focus in on is the latter part of this mini lesson. So it says, in the phrase 7 less than the product of 3 and 8, less than, the words less than indicate subtraction, while product indicate multiplication. But first we need to know the product of 3 and 8 in order to find 7 less than that amount. So the numerical expression would be 3 times 8 minus 7, right? And so from there, you can ask students based on yesterday's lesson or previous intervention days, what is another way the expression 3 times 8 minus 7 can be verbalized? And so students might say 3 times 8 minus 7. Students might say first multiply 3 times 3, then subtract 8. Some students might say 3 times as much as 8, then decreased by 7, right? So it's nice to see let students know that the verbiage does not have to align with any other student so long as they're using the correct buzzwords to match the operations within the problem. And so with that being said, here are some common and tricky vocab words that students will see today that are aligned with the forward operations. So another question that you might want to ask students is, does anyone have a word they want to add to any of these operations, right? So some students might want to add each, or some students might want to add plus to the addition, right? Some students might want to add minus to subtraction. So just get a sense of where students are and what they already know. From there, you're going to take about 5 minutes to jump into the teacher model. Notice that in this internalization, I have gone ahead to annotate the words with the operations, right? And so what I mean by that is for question 17, where it says the sum of 6 and 4 multiplied by 3, I identified sum as an addition buzzword, so I put a plus sign above it. And then I identified multiplied as a multiplication buzzword, so I put a multiplication sign above it. This is going to be very helpful for students in tracking that whatever answer they give has both of those symbols in there. So some students might say, okay, it's division, but then there's no sign of division in what they wrote down. So have them go back and say, well, what word did you identify that matches up with that operation? And so from there, students will write their expression, not their equation because there are no equal signs. Let them know that each of these questions will contain parentheses because we want to know which order we should do the math, right? So the comma is an indicator of order. And in question 18, there is no comma, but it says 5 less than the product of 8 and 2. You have to find the product first. 5 less than what? 5 less than the product of 8 and 2. Well, what is the product of 8 and 2? I have to know what the product of 8 and 2 is first before I can identify what 5 less than that is. So yes, the comma is an indicator of order, but sometimes there is no order, so students will have to interpret. So you'll do your model for about 5 minutes, then 10 minutes of partner practice at a volume level 1 before they jump into their exit ticket for 5 minutes independently. And so then the next day, So then the next day, they're continuing to work on writing numerical expressions from phrases. It is the same mini lesson, so you do not have to spend time going over that. Honestly, depending on how they did the previous day, you can have them jump into their exit ticket, see how they're doing with it. If they're getting 3 out of 4, 4 out of 4, have them move on to I Ready My Path. If not, for the students who are still struggling, do a model at the board to refresh them from the previous day's lesson before having them go into partner practice and then moving on. And as always, your fluency is at the bottom of the page.